If your doctor has told you that your eGFR falls somewhere between 30 and 59, or that your creatinine levels have been creeping upward over the last few months or years, I want you to hear something important before we go any further. Stage 3 kidney disease is not a sentence. It is not an inevitable march toward dialysis. It is, if you choose to see it this way, one of the most valuable pieces of information your body has ever given you. Because unlike so many silent conditions that only reveal themselves when the damage is already severe and options are limited, Stage 3 chronic kidney disease is a point in the story where what you do next genuinely matters. The choices made at this stage about diet, about blood pressure, about hydration, about daily habits have been shown in clinical research to meaningfully slow or even halt the progression of this disease. People remain at stage 3 for years, sometimes for the rest of their lives, when they understand what's happening and respond thoughtfully. That is what today's conversation is about. Not fear, not false promises, but clear, practical, honest information about what your kidneys are experiencing right now and what you can do about it, starting today. Let's begin with the science, explained simply, because understanding what's actually happening inside your kidneys at this stage changes how you relate to everything else we're going to discuss. Your kidneys contain roughly 1 million tiny filtering units called nephrons. Think of them as individual workers inside the kidney, each responsible for cleaning a portion of the blood that passes through. When you're young and healthy, all 1 million of those workers are active and the system has enormous capacity. Even if some workers are lost to injury or illness, the remaining ones compensate, picking up the slack so smoothly that you might never know anything changed. But in chronic kidney disease, nephrons are lost progressively, and the remaining ones are placed under increasing pressure to do more than they were originally designed to handle. This overwork, sustained over years, gradually wears down the remaining functional tissue. Your eGFR, which stands for Estimated Glomerular Filtration Rate, is essentially a measurement of what percentage of that original filtering capacity your kidneys are still delivering. An eGFR between 30 and 59 tells us that your kidneys are working at somewhere between 30 and 59% of their original capacity. That means a significant amount of filtering ability has already been lost, but it also means a meaningful amount remains, and protecting what remains is entirely possible. Creatinine, the number your doctor watches closely alongside eGFR, is a waste product produced naturally by muscle activity. Healthy kidneys filter creatinine efficiently out of the blood and into the urine. When kidney function declines, creatinine begins to accumulate in the bloodstream rather than being cleared, which is why elevated creatinine is a signal of reduced filtration. Understanding this relationship is important because it means that creatinine levels are a reflection of how hard your kidneys are working and how well they're managing their load. When we talk about supporting kidney health at stage 3, we're really talking about reducing the burden on those remaining nephrons, protecting the blood vessels that feed them, and creating internal conditions that favor stability rather than further loss. There are 3 foundational pillars that research consistently identifies as the most powerful levers a person with stage 3 chronic kidney disease can pull. None of them are dramatic. All of them require consistency, and together, they form the foundation of what nephrologists and nutritional researchers mean when they talk about managing this disease through lifestyle rather than medication alone. The first and most immediately impactful pillar is diet, specifically the way dietary choices either increase or reduce the workload placed on your kidneys every single day. Every time you eat, your digestive system breaks food down into nutrients, byproducts, and waste materials, all of which enter the bloodstream and must be filtered by the kidneys. When the kidneys are functioning at reduced capacity, certain substances that they once cleared easily begin to accumulate. Two of the most clinically significant for stage 3 patients are potassium and phosphorus, alongside the general burden of dietary protein. Potassium is an essential mineral found in many healthy foods, and in a body with fully functioning kidneys, excess potassium is simply filtered out and excreted in the urine. But when kidney function is compromised, potassium can accumulate to levels that affect heart rhythm, creating a risk that requires careful management. High potassium foods that many people think of as health foods, including bananas, oranges, tomatoes, potatoes, and spinach, need to be consumed mindfully and often reduced in a kidney-friendly diet. Lower potassium alternatives that provide similar nutritional value with less kidney burden include options like radish, which is naturally low in potassium and provides good fiber and vitamin C, as well as pumpkin or bottle gourd, which are gentle on the kidneys, easy to digest, and widely used in traditional diets across many cultures for their soothing, low-stress nutritional profile. Cabbage, cauliflower, green beans, and apples are similarly kidney-friendly and can form the backbone of a satisfying daily diet without overloading the potassium filtration burden. Phosphorus management is equally important. Phosphorus found in whole grains, dairy products, nuts, seeds, and especially in processed foods containing phosphate additives, needs to be carefully monitored at stage 3 because kidneys that cannot clear it efficiently allow it to accumulate in the blood, drawing calcium from bones and contributing to bone weakening and cardiovascular complications over time. Reading food labels for phosphate additives, listed as ingredients ending in phosphate, and limiting processed and packaged foods is one of the most practical steps a stage 3 patient can take. Cooking methods also matter. For high potassium vegetables that you don't want to eliminate entirely, boiling them in water and discarding the water before eating, a process called leaching, can meaningfully reduce their potassium content. Protein deserves specific mention because it's one of the most nuanced aspects of kidney-friendly nutrition and one of the most frequently misunderstood. Protein metabolism produces nitrogen waste products that the kidneys must filter. When kidney function is reduced, a high-protein diet adds a filtration burden that accelerates damage to the remaining nephrons. Research published in nephrology journals has shown that modest protein restriction in stage 3 and stage 4 CKD patients can slow the rate of eGFR decline measurably. This doesn't mean eliminating protein, which is essential for maintaining muscle, immune function, and tissue repair. It means being deliberate about the amount and source of protein, favoring plant-based proteins where possible, and working with a renal dietitian to find the right balance for your specific body weight and lab values. A generic recommendation to eat more protein for health, advice that makes sense for many older adults, can actually work against kidney preservation in someone with stage 3 CKD, which is why individualized guidance matters so much here. The second pillar is hydration and sodium balance, and these two factors are inseparable in the context of kidney health. The kidneys regulate fluid balance throughout the body, determining how much water is retained and how much is excreted. When sodium intake is high, the body retains water to dilute it, raising blood pressure and placing more stress on the kidney's filtering structures. Over time, chronically elevated sodium intake is one of the most consistent dietary drivers of kidney disease progression because of its direct relationship with high blood pressure, which we will address as its own pillar. For stage 3 patients, the recommended sodium intake is generally well below what most people consume on a typical modern diet. The target is usually around 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams per day, compared to a national average in many countries of 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams. Getting there requires reading labels, reducing packaged and restaurant food, choosing fresh ingredients over processed ones, and seasoning food with herbs, lemon, and spices rather than salt. Hydration is more nuanced for kidney patients than for the general population, and this is where individual medical guidance is essential. While adequate water intake helps the kidneys flush waste products and prevents urine from becoming so concentrated that crystals form, excessive fluid intake in advanced kidney disease can place its own burden on kidneys that struggle to maintain fluid balance. For most stage 3 patients with normal urine output and no significant fluid retention, drinking adequate water throughout the day, typically 6 to 8 cups, supports kidney function. But if swelling, reduced urine output, or other complications are present, fluid intake should be discussed with your doctor rather than self-managed. The key message is that the right amount of fluid, combined with reduced sodium, creates a foundation that supports the kidney's most fundamental balancing functions. The third pillar is blood pressure control, and it deserves to be treated not as a background concern, but as one of the most directly consequential factors in whether stage 3 kidney disease progresses or remains stable. High blood pressure damages the tiny, delicate blood vessels inside the kidneys, the very vessels that supply blood to those nephrons we discussed earlier. When those vessels are under sustained high pressure, their walls thicken and stiffen over time, reducing blood flow to the nephrons, starving them of oxygen and nutrients, and accelerating their loss. This creates a damaging cycle. Kidney disease raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure accelerates kidney disease. Breaking that cycle is one of the central goals of stage 3 management. Research consistently shows that keeping blood pressure at or below 130/80 significantly slows the rate of kidney disease progression. This can be achieved through a combination of medication prescribed by your physician, dietary sodium reduction as discussed, regular, gentle physical activity, stress management, and maintaining a healthy body weight. The lifestyle dimension of blood pressure management connects directly to what many people mean when they look for natural ways to support kidney health. Chronic psychological stress activates the body's stress response systems, raising cortisol and adrenaline, constricting blood vessels, and driving blood pressure upward. For someone with stage 3 CKD, sustained stress is not a minor inconvenience. It is a physiological burden with real consequences for kidney filtration pressure and vascular health. Building daily practices that meaningfully reduce stress, whether through gentle walking, breathing exercises, spending time outdoors, connecting with people who bring calm rather than chaos, or addressing anxiety with appropriate professional support, is not a soft lifestyle recommendation. It is a medically relevant intervention for kidney preservation. Sleep falls into this same category and is among the most underappreciated factors in kidney health management. During deep sleep, blood pressure naturally drops, giving the kidneys and their blood vessels a period of lower pressure and reduced demand. Poor sleep, whether from insomnia, sleep apnea, or simply insufficient hours, prevents this nightly recovery period. Research has established clear links between sleep deprivation, elevated inflammatory markers, impaired blood pressure regulation, and accelerated decline in kidney function in patients with existing CKD. Addressing sleep apnea, which is both more common and more dangerous in people with kidney disease than many realize, is one of the highest value interventions available for someone at stage 3 who wants to protect their remaining function. If you snore, if you wake unrefreshed, if your partner has noticed breathing pauses during your sleep, this warrants medical evaluation, not just for your kidneys, but for your heart, your brain, and your overall longevity. A word about creatinine specifically, because this number carries so much emotional weight for people managing this disease. It's important to understand that creatinine levels fluctuate based on how much water you've had to drink, how physically active you were in the days before the test, your muscle mass, and other variables. A single elevated reading tells less of the story than the trend across multiple tests over months. The goal of everything we've discussed today is not to produce an overnight dramatic drop in creatinine, because that's not how the biology works, and anyone who promises you otherwise is not giving you accurate information. What is genuinely possible, and what research shows clearly, is that consistent application of the dietary, hydration, blood pressure, and lifestyle principles we've covered can slow the rate of further kidney function loss, stabilize eGFR over time, and keep creatinine from continuing to climb. For some people, under the right circumstances and with the right medical support, stabilization extends for years. That is the real and meaningful hope that Stage 3 offers. This is also why regular monitoring matters so much at this stage. Blood tests, urine tests, and blood pressure checks are your feedback system, telling you whether the changes you're making are translating into stability. Working with a nephrologist and ideally a renal dietitian gives you guidance that is specific to your lab values, your other health conditions, and your individual needs in a way that general information simply cannot replicate. The principles shared here are grounded in research and represent a solid foundation, but your individual journey with this disease needs individual support. Stage 3 chronic kidney disease is a wake-up call, exactly as it was described at the start of this conversation. Not a sentence, not a guarantee of deterioration, a moment in time when what you know and what you choose to do with that knowledge can genuinely shape what comes next. The kidneys you have today, filtering at whatever percentage they're currently managing, are worth protecting with the same commitment and consistency you would give to any other part of your life that truly matters. Small, steady choices made every day in your kitchen, in your water glass, in your blood pressure readings, and in the quality of your sleep and the peace of your mind are the most powerful tools available to you right now. Use them.